One of the things we did when we organised the conference, as I said earlier, is we really were conscious of having people with the lived experience talk to us. That it's not just all up here. It's about people who have lived and fallen and risen again. As Kevin's book says, cracked, not broken. And so to start our session, we've got Tony Steenson who's going to talk to us. Tony's the same age as myself, 37, and he's a practicing bricklayer. He's still laying bricks, still working in the industry, and has a great story to tell us. So can we please welcome Tony to the stage?
First up, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here today. And thank you, John, for having me here and allowing me to speak. It's quite a privilege, to be honest. I haven't got a degree in anything, but I've got a degree in life. And I've had an interesting ride throughout my life. I come from a very loving family, no violence, no abuse whatsoever. But I chose drug addiction. I started at an early age, smoking pot when I went to high school. That lasted for, basically till I was 30, but along that time I picked up ice and, that put me on a bit of a downward spiral for 6 or so years. But the interesting thing was, during that period, if someone had have asked me, did I have any problems, I would have said no. I worked, I lived, I had a girlfriend, I had a car, I had a home. So what did I have to worry about? Sure, I partied, but I didn't see it as a problem. But it did have a dramatic effect on my life. And what I've learnt now, I haven't used drugs or alcohol for I think 7, probably 8 years now. And I look back at it now, and the reasons for my using the substance was to cover up how I was feeling at the time. If someone had have asked me, did I have a mental health problem back then, I would have thought no. Mental health, if someone had have even mentioned that word, it was, you're crazy kind of thing. That's what mental health was to me. I thought, anxiety, I didn't even know what that meant kind of thing. It was, if you had mental health issues, you were off the Richter scale kind of thing. But it's not the case. It's a very common problem. And to be honest, I think someone said before, it's 1 in 5 people have a mental health problem. To me, it's basically not wanting to deal with your feelings and not wanting to acknowledge your feelings, not knowing what to do with your feelings. And it's pretty hard because I think it was as Professor Martin said this morning, from an early age, as men, we're sold this story as to what a man has got to be. It's from a young age, people are trying to fit you into this mould, and you're trying to fit into a mould as well as to what a man is. I liken joining the building industry as very similar to a young kid, 12, 13, going into high school. We're at a very impressionable age then. You're looking to your peers to guide you in a certain way. And I think for me, a lot of apprentices as well, like they're coming out of school 16, 17, maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit later, but they're looking to these older guys for a bit of guidance. And is this what it is to be a man? Kind of thing. We've seen the pictures, we've seen what people think men should be. You're supposed to be this hard-ass guy who can drink schooners like going out of fashion, and it can create a lot of dramas, it's from a young age. Can you guys remember when you were a little boy, you were allowed to be gentle and play with girls and and just have as much fun as you wanted to be. But as you grow up through your ages, if you start kind of still having those feminine traits, well, you're laughed at, you're picked on, you're given a hard time. So is that saying we're not men? And it creates a bit of an upheaval. So, and to deal with those feelings, like predominantly, well, I chose drugs because I wasn't sure how I fitted in the world. It was, I started work early, like my dad's a bricklayer, so I was always going to work, and I was always amongst the tradies. And you're always searching, is this what it's like to be a man? Is that what it's like to be a man? There's a bit of an unknown, and it's very hard to stay true to yourself, I think, from, as what you were as a little boy. Like, it's quite a challenge, like you've got to have, as people say, a thick skin to not let things bother you throughout your life. It's very hard to be yourself in this world today. So, and what turned it around for me, like as I'm talking, I've got pictures of what I used to look like, and I've changed quite dramatically. It's the reason I used to look how I used to look was because I wanted to scare people away. I didn't want to connect with people. Which is it's been a theme for today in connecting to others and expressing and self-care. I knew none of those things. As men, we have found it hard to communicate how we feel because it's not a manly trait, so to speak. It's self-care, like really, do we really care about ourselves? Do we stay up late? Like, do we, like, if we're tired, do we go to bed when we're tired, or we just kind of push through? Do we overeat? Do we overindulge in food, alcohol, drugs? Like, are we caring for ourselves? And with that care, like, it's quite important. Like, we are role models for our apprentices coming through the trades, and really, if we're not caring for ourselves, what are we teaching the young guys? Are we saying it's okay to, work through the week and just completely smash yourself on the weekend? Is that how you choose to live your life? And are we saying that is how life is? So we've got a responsibility as men, as women, as human beings in this world. Like, we're all role models as such, So I haven't got any cures for suicide in the building industry, or really any answers, but to me, self-care has helped me tremendously. You can see from the pictures how I've changed. Like, I had no care I care deeply about myself these days. I won't abuse myself in any way. And that has had a tremendous effect on how I am at work and the guys that work with me. I work for my brother, and we've got a couple of younger guys. They are in their early 20s, and they openly come to me and say, I've got major anxiety issues. Now, for someone to come and say that to me is pretty huge, because in my early 20s, there's no way in the world I would have said that to anyone. That's quite remarkable, But I think part of the reason why they are able to say that to me is because I am open to them. I'm not shut down to them. I'm willing to connect with them, and they can feel that. So we've all got a responsibility in that area to be open and be ready to connect whenever they are, kind of thing. We've got to be on hand all the time. We can't just say no. I'm out. That's it. It's my time now. Like, we've got to be willing to be there with them whenever they need a hand. You know, it's a major issue and one that's not going away. It's actually intensifying, I find. So, you know, I'm not sure, like as the world seems to be getting a bit more intense, and these illnesses, diseases, they're coming up more and more, you know, so something needs to be done. You know, what Mates is doing is fantastic, but I think, you know, every one of us needs to be a bit responsible in that area as well, and we can't just leave it up to an organisation. You know, we need to be responsible for who we are, so we can, you know, be a reflection for other people. It's we all have an important role to play in this area, so and we can do it. Like there's no reason why we can't. So yeah. So thank you.